What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with fighters react to Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. Saturday morning, UFC President Dana White broke some pretty major news. After much speculation, it was confirmed that former two-division champion Conor McGregor would be coaching the upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter against Michael Chandler. Immediately, the fight community went wild with predictions for how the season will play out, as well as the inevitable fight between the two. Michael Chandler quickly released a statement on the matchup, saying,
"Bam, it's finally announced. The cat is out the bag. Team Chandler versus Team McGregor, coaching The Ultimate Fighter, heading to Vegas here very soon to film in the same vicinity, the same city as my future opponent later on this year, Conor McGregor. My team versus his team. The competition starts right now, ushering in these young men or women."
Dustin Poirier was also quick to comment on the situation, calling the two men his sons after recently defeating Chandler at the end of 2022 in a thrilling Fight of the Year contender. That sparked a response from Michael Johnson, who was quick to poke fun at Dustin Poirier, who he defeated back in 2016. Tony Ferguson, who was rumored to be coaching the season opposite McGregor, took to Instagram to react to the news, recycling his hilarious Dana White privilege line. Of course, as it stands right now, McGregor isn't quite eligible to compete, and he has yet to officially enter the USADA testing pool. After the announcement, as fans began to speculate as to when the fight between the two could take place, USADA officials revealed that McGregor would still need to undergo 6 months of testing and provide 2 clean samples before being eligible to compete. While it won't impact his ability to coach The Ultimate Fighter, without being eligible to compete, the fight between McGregor and Chandler won't be able to take place until August 5th at the earliest. When the two men finally get the chance to square off inside the octagon, how do you see things playing out? Give us your thoughts in the comments section below. George St-Pierre offers Paddy Pimblett advice. UFC Hall of Famer George St-Pierre has some advice for streaking lightweight contender Paddy the Baddy Pimblett after his controversial decision victory over Jared Gordon. The win and the surrounding beef with longtime MMA Journalist of the Year Ariel Helwani saw the fan perception of Pimblett turn rather negative in a matter of just a few weeks. While he didn't seem fazed by the criticism initially, Pimblett revealed to St-Pierre that he was looking for some advice on how to handle the talks surrounding his last fight. GSP offered the polarizing Scouser some heartfelt advice, pointing out that every great fighter has a fight that people don't think they should have won. Referencing Khabib Nurmagomedov's decision win over Gleison Tibau and his own decision win over Johnny Hendricks, St-Pierre said,
"What I did in my case, like when I had some performances that I was not too proud of, I take a note of all the things that I did before the fight and how I get ready for that fight. And I try to make an assessment of what should I done differently, and I try to not repeat the same mistake, you know? Sometimes it's hard to do, sometimes it's just that maybe you wake up and there's some days in training I'm no different. Some days I'm just 1 second too slow or half second too slow, and you don't really know why.
With a wedding and a surgery on the horizon for Pimblett, it'll be some time before he's back in the octagon. Jamahal Hill reveals first title defense. Recently crowned light heavyweight champion, Jamahal Hill has officially called his shot after Hill welcomed a fight with middleweight champion Alex Pereira. The former two-division Glory kickboxing champion was booked for a rematch with Israel Adesanya. Although a fight with Yuri Prochazka looms on the horizon, Hill is already looking to book his first title defense while waiting for the former champion to return from shoulder surgery. During a recent interview with Sportskeeda, he welcomed a fight with Magomed Ankalaev, who has maintained that he was robbed of the title at UFC 282 when he fought Jan Blachowicz.
That's what it is. He's right there at the top, so he's put himself in position to be considered for those things. I'm not just gonna sit and just be like, he didn't deserve. Like, bro, he's right. He's up at the top. If I'm ready to go and I'm ready to fight, I fight who's available. I think, and I wouldn't mind knocking him the out just for the simple fact that people keep bringing his name up, talking to me.
If Hill and Ankalaev are booked to fight, how do you see things playing out? Drop your predictions in the comments below. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. Dana White fires back at fan. This week, lightweight champion Islam Makhachev revealed his frustrations with the UFC in regards to the lack of promoting being done for his UFC 284 clash with Alexander Volkanovski. In an interview, Makhachev accused White of not paying attention to the fight. In his eyes, the upcoming battle for the pound-for-pound title deserved a press tour or something. As it turns out, Makhachev's comments were entirely off base. At the time, the UFC's official social media channels were overwhelmingly promoting Dana White's Power Slap League rather than the upcoming Makhachev vs. Volkanovski pay-per-view. With the event now just under a week away, promotion for the card is expected to ramp up as the fighters arrive in Perth. With that being said, don't expect Dana White to pull the plug on his promotion of the Power Slap League. Prior to White going live to announce Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler as the coaches of the Ultimate Fighter, a fan commented on the UFC president's Instagram post, saying maybe he'll finally promote 284 instead of slap fighting. White was quick to respond with, "Don't count on it," a comment which generated plenty of controversy as fans criticized him for focusing on Power Slap rather than the fight that will determine the UFC's pound-for-pound kingpin. With media obligations set to take place this coming week in regards to the card, it'll be interesting to see whether White is asked about the marketing for the event. Miami confirmed as location for UFC 287. After going live to announce some pretty big fights for UFC 287 recently, fans continue to wonder when Dana White would announce the location for the UFC 287 pay-per-view card. This week, the outspoken president revealed that the UFC would be returning to Miami, Florida for the first time since 2003 to host one of the biggest pay-per-view cards of the year. The event, of course, will be headlined by a highly anticipated rematch between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. In addition, the card will play host to Miami's own BMF Jorge Masvidal, who will return to the octagon after losing a bitter grudge match to Colby Covington last year. On top of the two blockbuster fights, the card will also play host to a welterweight clash between Kevin Holland and Santiago Ponzinibbio, a bantamweight clash between Rob Font and Adrian Yanez, a welterweight fight between Michael Chiesa and Li Jingliang, and a middleweight fight between Kelvin Gastelum and Chris Curtis. The last time the UFC was in Miami was in 2003, when Matt Hughes defended his welterweight title against Sean Sherk at UFC 42. The card also notably saw future champions Rich Franklin and Evan Tanner clash for the first time. The pair would later meet at UFC 53 in 2005 in a clash for the middleweight championship, where Franklin captured UFC gold. How do you see things playing out between Pereira and Adesanya, and Masvidal and Burns come UFC 287? Give us your thoughts in the comment section below. And now for our breaking news story of the day.
Because it was a fun fight and they had the back and forth, do you try to reschedule Nelson and Superboy, or you just walk away from that and just don't even bother with a rematch?
No, but in my opinion, Choi won the fight, and sometimes the refereeing or judging isn't perfect. So do what I can do, take it in my own hands, and I felt like that kid got robbed on that ridiculous call.
All right, and shout out for giving him that win bonus. That's super nice.
Islam Makhachev teases future move to welterweight. While Islam Makhachev is likely to have his hands full with Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 284, the champion is already setting his sights on the welterweight division. Although he isn't ready to move up quite yet, he knows that with a few wins, he'll be in a position to move up and chase champ status. He spoke in a recent interview to discuss the potential move in the future, saying, "Let me tell you this topic is relevant. I like to compete. I like to fight strong fighters. I love big fights. Whoever is the welterweight champion, it's going to be a huge fight. I'm very interested, but in 2023, there are worthy opponents in my division with whom I still have to meet." Of course, Khabib Nurmagomedov recently stated prior to stepping away from coaching that he believed Makhachev would defend the title 5 or 6 times over the next 2 to 3 years before retiring. The champion addressed those claims directly, saying that as long as there's fire in him to compete, he will do so. In his eyes, given the fact that he has continued to look more and more dominant in each fight, there's no reason to talk about his eventual retirement. With the champ's recent comments, what do you think the future holds? Will Islam Makhachev become a 2-division champion, or will Khabib's prediction come true? Thank you so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.